What's going on, rock and roll fans? Welcome to the Tenacity Podcast, where we talk about all things rock. I'm your host, Gavin, along with my partner in crime, Josh. Josh, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, and it's interesting. I checked the weather forecast today, and it's just like last week. It is a beautiful day to talk about all things rock.
Absolutely. And what better subject to talk about today than to carry on our conversation from last week? Guys, if you were listening in to our episode 2 last week, we kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger because we didn't get to talk about all the bands that needed to be talked about. And what we were talking about was our favorite bands in rock. Because obviously, I mean, you cannot have just one favorite band. You're going to say, oh, it's my favorite band, but then oh, wait, there's another band that I really love. And as Josh alluded to last week, it's like trying to pick out what's your favorite rock song. You're never going to have just one. So we wanted to continue our conversation talking about what are some of our favorite bands. And Josh, I'm going to let you take this one first. Talk about one of your favorite bands. I know you actually hinted at one before we got on this call that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So one that I noticed right off the bat, one of my favorite bands that I didn't mention last week was Led Zeppelin. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I think everybody quote Jack Black from School of Rock, one of my favorite movies. When he found out the kids never heard of Led Zeppelin, he said, "Don't tell me you've never gotten the lead out." I like that quote. But anyway, I always get the lead out. Led Zeppelin, of course, everybody knows their name. Everybody's heard of Led Zeppelin, especially rock fans. And their influences are definitely in rock today. Like there's another band that's newer called Greta Van Fleet, who I really like. They're really good, and you can tell they get their whole inspiration and sound from Led Zeppelin. But Led Zeppelin is definitely a band I've admired for a long time, and you listen to songs. Obviously, "Stairway to Heaven" is iconic, and definitely one of those songs to where it took a lot of work, but just a masterpiece. And also, though, they have songs like "A Whole Lot of Love," which I love that song.
Yeah.
And
I believe
have a song
Stairway
called
isn't Stairway. I believe that now. For those of you who play an instrument like playing guitar, I believe there are a lot of guitar places where that song is "Stairway to Heaven" is actually banned from being played. I don't know if it's out of respect for the song. I think a lot of it is out of respect for the song, and a lot of reasoning is because of how much it's been played, because it is such a iconic song. And to kind of go into what he's talking about, we have a lot of bands out today that Led Zeppelin had a huge impact on. And Josh, not to interrupt you, I want you to continue on, but just like, that's an interesting fact that I discovered becoming a guitarist, that song is, if you start playing it at a Guitar Center, be prepared for them to come up and stop you from playing it, because they've heard it a bunch in there. And just thinking about some of the songs, we may have to do an episode on the top 10 songs that Guitar Centers or guitar stores will not let you play, just for the sake of how many times it's been done in their store.
Yes, that'd be a good topic. And Led Zeppelin, of course, they were very unique, just like all the bands we touch on were unique in their own way. That's what made them so great. But Led Zeppelin with all their songs, and like you alluded to, "Stairway to Heaven," I mean, it's been played so many times. Just about every diehard rocker's heard it. But even if you're not a diehard rocker, you probably heard it. I mean, you've heard it mentioned, you've heard it. It's just, but that song is definitely one of those songs that can never be overplayed to me, even though it's been played countless of times, because it's a timeless classic to me. But just like a lot of their songs, a lot of their songs are. But yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch on that. I wanted to touch on Led Zeppelin because diehard rocker, and that's the first thing I said to you is, man, I didn't bring up Led Zeppelin, who they're on my top list. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Absolutely. And now we got to talk about another band, because you said something about iconic songs. And I don't know of any other band who has more iconic songs than the legendary band called Queen.
Absolutely.
Guys,
Oh,
not only legendary in how many iconic songs they have, another one bites the dust. One of the greatest rock songs, Bohemian Rhapsody.
absolutely. One
And
of my
then
favorite songs of all time.
the song I Want It All.
Mm.
Amazing, incredible. And then Somebody to Love. We Are the
Mm.
Champions. And everybody goes through the phase where they get to hear the song We Will Rock You. People have
Absolutely.
done it over and over again. I believe it's in a couple of sports, a lot of sports industries. I believe baseball, they do it a lot. It's played all over the place. But
Mm-hmm.
not only do they have just legendary songs, they have on every list I've ever looked at. And guys, I look at a lot of research as far as like top 10 places when it comes to music. And every list I've ever seen when it comes to top 10 vocalists slash frontmen of bands, Fred Mercury has always been at the top. There's not a man alive, or has been, or ever will be. I say that with as much expectation because I want to see somebody do it who could outdo Fred Mercury as a frontman. The man
100%
had
agree.
charisma, and
Absolutely.
they are. And I speak. We're talking about favorite bands. Fred Mercury. Talking about Queen. Queen is a band that I have huge respect for, and I went through a phase where that was all I listened to was Queen. In fact, I believe when the movie Bohemian Rhapsody came out, we were when I worked at a Chick-fil-A, and for a long time we were in the kitchen. We heard the movie was coming out, and our boss was a huge Queen fan. And he loved the fact that they were doing a documentary film on him, and so all we listened to for 2 straight weeks before that film came out was Queen. So when the film did finally come out, we were actually anticipating the film coming out because we were done with we were kind of done with Queen for a little bit, and then I came back to it.
Well, Queen, definitely a great movie. If you listening to this and have never seen Bohemian Rhapsody,
I think it's educational for what the band did. And one thing I'd love to talk on, because Queen is such, we may have to do a full episode on Queen. There's so many things. Like, for example, their guitarist, Brian May, is an extraordinary guitar player. In fact, something that you may learn, this is one thing I love about this podcast, because we talk about all things rock. Brian May's guitar, and if you've seen it, it's very unique in the fact that he built it with his dad. That guitar is made up of, if I recall correctly, it is made up of just things they could find in the house because they couldn't even afford the cheapest guitar. The neck of that guitar is a leg from their table. And it's all sanded down. They did an amazing job. A bunch of metal that they found laying around to where they could create the, I think they actually ended up having to buy the pickups, I believe. But even the strings, everything was made by them. And so such an incredible handiwork, and having that kind of a guy who will do guitar track after guitar track just for one song and be able to get up on stage and do a concoction variant of that on stage. Like, anyway, but a band that, like, they stand the test of times. They're always going to be remembered.
Absolutely. Bohemian Rhapsody is the type of song that when you listen to, you can't just sing one part. You sing all the parts. But definitely one of my Bohemian Rhapsody, I just want to say, I think is one of the greatest songs ever written. And I truly believe that. But yeah, definitely Queen, Freddie Mercury, his vocal range could not be topped. And I just want to say one thing before we move on real quick, is I read something, and I need to look into this to see if to see how true it is. But I believe I read a few sources to where Freddie Mercury, a lot of people wondered why he didn't get his teeth fixed. And I think Freddie Mercury said that the way his teeth were helped his vocal range even better. For what I hear.
Yeah, because he had a range.
Fact, I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. I actually have to concur with that, because I did hear the same thing. Reading up on Fred Mercury and reading up on the band, he never got his teeth fixed because the way his mouth and his jawline was designed, it gave him more range than what he would if he had got surgery to replace it.
And I don't know if listening that are singers have ever tried to sing like Freddie Mercury. I've never tried, because who can do that? Who can sing like him?
I've seen a depiction on what his range was. So for those of you in the music, and I actually can read sheet music, and I have
Mm,
seen what his range looks like, and
mm.
I don't know of any other singer who could possibly sing that. But there have been those who tried, and let's talk about a band that has a singer who could reach the stratosphere. And back in their heyday, when they were top, this band had one of the highest singers in the industry. We're talking about Skid Row with Sebastian Bach. Josh, I know you probably know a little about. Let's talk about what is one band song from them like that sticks out to you.
I mean, obviously, a song that me and you both love, 18 in Life.
Amen. Amen.
That song, I mean, there's a lot of songs, but that song right off the bat sticks out to me for numerous reasons. But another song that you never get tired of, a song that me and you have jammed out to quite a bit. And yeah, 18 in Life. And then they have a song, and this song, I don't know if this song is as popular as the others, but they have a song I like called I Remember You. Very good ballady song. But yeah, 18 in Life has to be my favorite song. But definitely, I Remember You. If y'all have never heard that song before, it's a really good song by them too. And but yeah, oh man, Skid Row, another band that has a lot of history, and another band that that's very unique.
Yeah, and what I love about Skid Row too is that they actually we're kind of go ahead and go into another band right now real quick because this band actually segues into my all-time favorite band because their guitarist actually was the first guitarist for my favorite band. Now, guys, I kind of alluded to this band in our last podcast that this band, no matter what, they may not have always been on my top list, but if I ever go through my Spotify account, they are the top band I listen to year by year. Ever since I got into rock and roll, this band has always been there, and it always seems like when I have a certain era of my life and I can think of a time, they always had a song that like went along with that part of my life. And so they've always been my favorite. And I'm talking about the band Bon Jovi. There are so many anthems from Bon Jovi. The song Living on a Prayer is such an incredible song. And what an interesting fact about Bon Jovi, and I loved sharing this story, is that Bon Jovi was of course the namesake John Bon Jovi. He's the lead vocalist. He's the owner of the band. He's the front man. He does everything. The band was just him when the band first was released. So he released the album Runaway with, of course, Skid Row's guitarist, Snake, who played on the album as a favor for him. And of course, he didn't stay with the band because he was getting ready to start Skid Row. But when the album came out, Bon Jovi was the only mainstay member of the band. And of course, the story Runaway just took off, especially with its main lead song, Runaway, was like such a big song for them. And so they wanted to sign him, a bunch of people, and he realized, oh crap, I don't have a band. But what he did know was he knew where to find people. And of course, he had David Bryan, who was actually pulled out of medical school to where he could go play keyboard for the band. And I don't know, I think he jokes around that his mother wasn't very happy about it until years later, when she found out he could make more money as a musician than he could as a doctor. And of course, just building this amazing, incredible super band that has gone on, they're still going today. And of course, I know John Bon Jovi himself has, had a couple of medical issues over the years with his voice, but as he's recovering, I mean, he's got a new album out, still can sing. It's just an incredible band if you're looking for a band that has a lot of heartfelt songs and things that you can relate, very relatable and very poetical. I mean, Bon Jovi is the band that can do that. But that's my favorite. Josh, let's hear another one of yours.
So the first, I just want to briefly say that my first memory of Bon Jovi is when Have a Nice Day album came out. That's the first album I got. My favorite Bon Jovi album. But I just want to touch real quick on, you can, if you've never heard the Have a Nice Day album, which I'm sure most Bon Jovi fans have heard it, but if you've never heard it, I mean, you cannot listen to that album and not be filled with energy. That album just, Have a Nice Day is like the anthem.
I would have to say my favorite album from them is This House Is Not For Sale. There's so many hit. I think almost every song from that album was a hit, but especially the This House Is Not For Sale and Roller Coaster. But that's just an amazing, just an incredible album. Even the Have a Nice Day album, two songs from that, Have a Nice Day and then Last Man Standing, are two great songs. One less known than the other.
I was just listening to another great song on the album, Who Says You Can't Go Home. Another great song too. But yeah, that's just I just wanted to touch on that real quick. I love all of Bon Jovi's albums, but Have a Nice Day is just, there's something about that album that just really gets me. I just love it.
Absolutely. But Josh, what is another great band that we can talk about? Like, I know I've given two just now. What is a great band that we need to talk about on today's podcast?
I don't believe they were the subject at all last time, and I think I only mentioned their name just by going by some of the bands I got into at an early age, but I never touched on them. But I want to real quick bring up Aerosmith, because they're a band.
Yes.
Aerosmith. My late so for those that don't know me that are listening to this, just real quick, I had a sister named Sheila. She was my oldest sister, and she was a diehard rocker. Aerosmith was her all-time favorite band, and she got me into them. And she passed away, cancer, rest in peace. But she, a lot of great memories with them. So Aerosmith holds a special place in my heart. And Steven Tyler, everybody knows Steven Tyler. But Steven Tyler is another example of uniqueness with his voice. Steven Tyler has just one of those voices where you automatically, just like you were talking about Freddie Mercury, Steven Tyler has one of those voices you automatically know it's Steven Tyler when you hear him. And I love his just natural rock voice. But, you know, obviously Walk This Way, everybody knows that song, iconic song. But, you know, they have some other songs that were like, they have a slow song I really love called I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, and of course Crying, and they got just so many. Jaded is one of my favorite songs to play on the drums. But Aerosmith, and me and you actually talked about this just the other day, and this will kind of be another topic we can touch on later on, but someday. But you know, when they collabed with Run DMC, we were talking about that. They did the Walk This Way collab, which I enjoy. I think it's a really cool collaboration. But Aerosmith, just as a whole, that was another band I was talking to you about, and I'm like, man, I can't believe. I think I might have mentioned their name in passing, but I didn't touch on them. And I'm like, man, because they're a band that holds a special place in my heart. And Steven Tyler, one of my all-time favorite vocalists.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Okay, now we got to talk about another band that has. This is a band that I did not realize how old they were until recently, when I watched an interview about Metallica making a joke about like having them on our t-shirt. In fact, it's the name of the band that's actually on my t-shirt. You won't be able to, you're not seeing it, but we're talking about the band Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is what do you say about this like colossal thing that is Iron Maiden? It's some fast songs that are, and not only that, they have this voice that comes out of the man Bruce Dickinson, who is their lead vocalist. If you haven't seen any of their stuff on YouTube, look at one of their live performances. You're going to see probably one of the most energetic, engaging bands out there. And Bruce Dickinson has a voice that is, I believe, has been described as he is singing to the back of the crowd. That's just how loud his voice can get, and how long his voice. And I don't think there's been very many people who can keep up with the schedule that Iron Maiden has. Iron Maiden, from what I have seen on their documentaries of their touring schedule, it's insane and it's intense because they are on for a few months, off for like a month, get an album together, let's go back out touring. They do not stop. And
I think they have the best live albums.
Absolutely. And at the helm, of course, is their bassist, who's actually the only member of the band that is still an original member, Steve Harris. And you can't, like, this is a guy that his bass is heard. We don't talk a lot about bassists, it seems like, in rock, but there are very few bassists who, come out as a leading factor. And Steve Harris just has if you listen to the song The Trooper, you're going to hear that bass all over the place. He's just got a galloping rhythm that he's able to keep in time. And he's such a driven man that when he started because he started the band on his own, and he already had the idea, like, as a young man, and he went through a lot of people to get to where he's at today. Because originally, I mean, he started the band from ground up, and there were people that were come and go into his band. I think he said he went through about 20 guitarists within like the first year, because he knew what he wanted and he knew what it was going to take to build it, and he was willing to make those sacrifices to build it. Just an incredible band. Now, what they have now, like the songs, some songs that stand out to me are Wasted Years. That was the song that got me into them. And then, of course, The Trooper. And I love the song Aces High. Aces High is it's actually on the album of the shirt I'm wearing, which is Power Slave album, which that's the one I enjoy. I enjoy the stuff from that. Of course, there's another one that I got introduced to, which was during their Brave New World tour, which was the Wicker Man, and of course the title song Brave New World. But they're another just larger than life band. Their shows are amazing. I hope one day to actually get to. They have a couple of live shows actually happening this year that I hope to actually go get to see them towards the end of this year. But fingers crossed, depending on what happens with schedule.
Another band that, I mean, you can't go without talking about, and also a band, and this will be a topic for another podcast, but I got to bring it up since we're talking about them. Another band that should have, and all the fans would be agreed to this, should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a long time ago, but they're still not. So hopefully someday they'll get the recognition they deserve on that. But absolutely, I mean, everything you said, all the songs you brought up, I love. They definitely have the best live albums. If you want energetic, you want to feel like you're at a show, just listening to a live album. You listen to Iron Maiden's live albums. Oh man, it'll just, man, it's just, it leaves me speechless. I mean, they're just that good, live, especially live. Oh man,
absolutely. Okay, so Josh, we need to talk about this other band, because this is another band that they seem to get overlooked a lot. And right now, especially this year, this is 2024, they have started to make a lot of waves and a lot of headway in the fact that they're touring again. They've got a documentary out now. They have been labeled the world's most hated band for a long time. And some of that is to their own fault. But we got to talk about the band, and I enjoy them. I don't care what other people say. I love this band, Nickelback. A band that needs no introduction. They've had a lot of rough patches over the years, but they have come out with a bunch of amazing hits. For the songs Far Away, such an amazing heartfelt song. Saving Me, their hit that came out when they first started getting popular, This Is How You Remind Me. That one's great. And then, of course,
Burn It to the Ground favorites.
Absolutely. And that is, like, I believe that is a lot of times, if not, it's usually their closer, because it's such a heavy, like, in your face. And that was when I was listening to when they were talking about the writing of that song, it was, they wanted to make the heaviest song possible that they could make, because they were, a lot of their songs were very considered lighter in the rock genre, and they wanted to show we can go heavy. And of course, they get this song, Burn It to the Ground, which is such an amazing song. And of course, Chad Kroeger has such a voice that cannot be duplicated. And it is amazing how he's been able to keep that up.
I think the song I listen to them, even though Burn It to the Ground is on my top, I think one of the songs I play with them the most, just because of how iconic the song is Rockstar. I mean, everybody knows that song, Rockstar.
I love it because it's such there's a story just to that song.
Definitely describes what I wanted growing up. Obviously, minus the drug part, but I mean, but just a great song. I mean, we all just want to be big rock star. Because I've always wanted to be a rock star, so I'm like, hey, someone's actually singing about what I want, basically. What do you want to be when you grow up? Hey, just listen to Nickelback Rockstar. But that's such an iconic song, though, and the music video is really cool. They have all those people, and they have celebrities, but they also have fans in the music video, and it's just one of my favorite videos too. But definitely Rockstar. And then another song, also that I like by him, and it's a song we jam out to. Gotta Be Somebody.
Yes, our band actually has covered that a couple times. It is a fun one to do. It's just interesting, but the band in general is just a great band. And now, Josh, we need to talk about this because I think you and I might have. We'll see how our personalities, because this is a question band that we haven't really talked about who would be our favorite, because when these two bands came out roughly around the same time, and one or the other would take over as the punk band of that time. We're talking about Green Day or Offspring. Who would you, if you were to pick on who would listen to the most? Probably Green Day or Offspring.
So obviously I have high respect for both bands, but without a shadow of a doubt, for me, I'd have to say Green Day all the way.
And guys, for you listening in, let us know Green Day or Offspring. And if you have one of the bands that we've talked about is one of your personal favorites as well, let us know, and let us know what song it is that you love about them so much. So for me, it depends on how I'm feeling, but I know I have felt more Offspring than I have Green Day. And here's the thing though, like when we do a lot of Green Day covers, and that's what's so funny about that is that Green Day, we do a lot more covers, but Offspring for me has always been I have a lot more of theirs that I listen to, especially the song The Kids Aren't All Right.
Yeah, great
and
song.
John, what would be your song from Green Day that you would say, like, this is the song I love listening to?
They have so many great ones, but I would say just one of the songs that I'm thinking of just on the top of my head is just because it's one of the funnest songs to play and listen to is Welcome to Paradise. Welcome to Paradise from their Dookie album. I can't pick a favorite song even off that album because that's such a great album. But the reason Welcome to Paradise is in my head just because that's one of my favorite ones. Just when I play the drums to that album, that's one of my favorite ones. But Basket Case also, because Basket Case was the very first Green Day song I've ever learned to play on the drums. And then I have to just kind of just leave it at that because then I'll go off on it.
Love it.
We don't have the time for all that.
That's okay. Now let's get into, I got two other bands for you that we need to talk about which one you would say. And the reason why I picked these, because these two are riddled with drama and riddled with all kinds of things. They are two bands that got so big and they were so wild in their own rights. Now, the question is, Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses?
Great. Yeah.
Who would you see yourself listening more to? Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses? And guys, you listening at home, let us know in the comments. Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses, and what song is it and why?
I would say for me, I would have to say definitely for me Guns N' Roses, and the song that I automatically think of for me with Guns N' Roses. It could be because it's the first song I learned from them on the drums, but also just one of my favorite songs, iconic song, Paradise City. I mean, that's just one of my all-time favorite songs. Yeah. But I mean,
I would have to say, so Motley Crue, I was not as familiar with until we started getting into listening to a lot of different stuff. I have enjoyed a lot of Motley Crue songs over the past couple of weeks, and especially the song Kickstart My Heart and Wild Side. Those are two amazing songs. And there's another one that stands out to me, and it's not as big. I think from them is Saints of Los Angeles. They are an interesting band, to say the least. And they probably have, both bands on both sides have been riddled with nothing but drama since their inception. And a lot of it of their own demise. But both have had the same effect where, but I would say Guns N' Roses a little bit more because they've been able to keep going. But both have had, like, no matter how much they would do and no matter how much damage they would cause, were able to keep going. Like, they took rock and roll lifestyle to them as far as they could go. And
yes, absolutely.
Took to new heights. Like, they took rock and roll to insane heights in all of their heydays. But these are just amazing, like, talent that came from both of these bands.
Absolutely. Just, I mean, you can't get more iconic. I mean, they're just, and I think it's fun talking about the comparisons because we all have a preference on who we like, but at the end of the day, it's just it's good to talk about and good to get the listeners involved too, and like who they prefer, who do they like.
Okay, here's another. I got another one for you because we've got so many bands we want to talk about, and I want to make sure that we get the majority of them because we won't get to say about all of them. However, we do want to, me and Josh have actually talked about possibly doing documentary episodes of just a band. And guys, let us know in the chat if that's something you would like to know, because there's so many stories about all of these bands that these are a lot of our favorites that we've listened to that we would prefer, that we love, we enjoy. And we'd love to share some of the stories that they have. Of course, there's so many bands, you couldn't get all of them in one episode. But okay, the next one I want to talk to you about. Now, these two might be a little genuinely different, but I'm kind of curious to see if it's more in there. One is a hard rock band, and one is actually they have a more synth approach to their sound. Judas Priest or Def Leppard. Who would you rather listen to on a regular basis, Judas Priest or Def Leppard? Because both have iconic singers. Both both Rob Halford and Joe Elliott have been able to take their vocals to amazing heights with a lot of their songs. But who would you rather listen to on a regular basis? And let us know in the chat, who would you guys rather listen to?
Love both bands, but I would have to say, just because of all the memories and stuff with their music, I would have to go with Def Leppard.
Nice.
Even though I love Judas Priest, but Def Leppard, I would have to go with Def Leppard. I mean, yeah, they're just, I mean, you can't go wrong with them, and obviously for numerous reasons. But yeah, Def Leppard, just so many memories listening to them, and I mean, Judas Priest as well. But yeah, I got to go with Def Leppard.
I love it. I would have to be. I am very partial to Def Leppard myself because when I was first getting into rock and roll and like listening to it, the second band I would listen to on a regular basis was Def Leppard. And then Judas Priest I discovered Judas Priest later on in life. However, I will have to say that recently Judas Priest has been more on my playlist than Def Leppard because they actually came back out on tour, Judas Priest, of course. And they are just, I don't know how they do it. Like, Rob Halford is such an incredible singer, and their performance is just amazing.
Yes.
And so I enjoy them. Okay. I got one more, guys, for you guys before we are done for the podcast for today because we are running out of time. But I want to ask you, Josh, one last one because these are two. They're not older bands, but they're not relatively new, but they're kind of in between because they both can tour still for a long time. But I want to see which one. I know we've talked about them, but they may not be as much on our radar as other bands might be. But these are the bands: Avenged Sevenfold or Ghost.
Yeah.
These both take a totally different approach. However, both have such an amazing... Guys, if you haven't ever listened to either of these bands, I suggest you go. Our guitarist is actually very partial to Avenged Sevenfold. It's been on his listening list for a while now. And then, of course, for me, one of these others I've been listening to for a while. But Josh, which one would you listen to on a regular basis if you had the choice?
Again, I like both. I enjoy both, but I will have to go with Avenged Sevenfold just for the simple fact that I mean, they've been in my memory just since I was real young, and I would say I was just listening to one of my favorite songs. Actually, before this podcast, I was just listening to Avenged Sevenfold, and one of my favorite songs, "Hail to the King."
I love it.
And of course, "Beast in the Harlot's" one of my favorite songs too. And again, and the listeners understand this. I love Ghost, and Ghost is awesome. I listen to them quite a bit too. But yeah, I got to go for me. I got to go with Avenged Sevenfold.
Guys, let us know in the chat what you think, because we're going to be on totally opposites on this conversation. My vote goes to Ghost. And the reason why is I have also... One thing that I am always... When I'm listening to certain bands, one thing that I want to find out when I'm listening to them, because a lot of the bands that we like have been on tour before. They've done live shows. And that doesn't mean that just because... I know it's harder to get live shows going for new up-and-coming bands. And by the way, if you are a band listening to this today, guys, we'd love to hear... Or actually share your page. You guys are more than welcome to, in the comments, share your band page and what is one of your hit songs that you've been doing really well with. I would love to get to hear what you guys have to say on our chat. We'd love to actually have you possibly on the podcast talk about your band and talk about what you guys are doing, how you guys are up and coming band. Because of course, me and Josh are part of Tenacity. It's the namesake of the podcast, but it's also our band, and we want to get to know you as well. But for me, Ghost would have to be my side. I am a huge fan of the fact that they could take organ and bring it into a rock and roll band, along with, I have seen on their live shows, they have a guitar player. So that's one thing that I play piano as well. And so I'm very partial to that. And I love the mystery and the different that they take to a show. And the performance, I enjoy everything that those guys are doing on their show, especially the nameless ghouls that they don't have. There's no name to any of these band members. I think they've been nicknamed recently, but I love everything about it, especially the songs Square Hammer and Griftwood. I enjoy both of them so much. You will probably find me at least once a day listening to Griftwood. And then if I'm really looking to, if I'm doing the dishes at home, I'm listening to Dance Macabre. I enjoy it. Now, if I butchered that name, someone please tell me, because I have said it, Macabre, and all kinds of other reasons. If I cannot read for the life of me, so please tell me if I'm saying that wrong. But Ghost is my vote. Guys, we did not talk on all the bands that possibly could be talked about. There are so many out there, but what we wanted to do is share with you some of our favorites, because we want to hear from you guys, bands we didn't talk about. What are some of your favorite bands? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what their favorite song is. We might talk about them again on another podcast, but that is
I definitely believe that we could do another podcast on the comparison more. That'd be like what bands you prefer. That'd be that'd be
absolutely. We could do different genres. That's an opportunity. If you guys want to hear about that podcast episode, let us know in the comments. And also, if you enjoyed our intro music, that's another one of our Tenacity originals, available on all social media platforms, even on where you're listening on this podcast. Link for it will be in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening today. We hope you guys have an amazing day and keep on rocking in a free world, y'all.
Keep rocking, guys.